I don't feel good about being white every day.
This is the delivery mechanism.
And I'm just a female, but just a woman, just a white woman.
This is the payload.
If I was a white man, I would be functioning from a point of an even greater privilege.
If I see a group of young men, and they're like kind of boisterous, I get really nervous. And he's like, well, what if they're black guys? And then she's like, no, wait.
They want to use conviction rates to show the percentage of men that engage in sexual crime relative to women. They don't want us.
I can hear the.
What? Allison, I just started.
Oh, wait. That's me. Just continue.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. And welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison. And this is Maintaining Frames. Sweet Baby Inc. Fixing gamers is our business. Not fixing games, fixing gamers. And we're going to be looking at an interview between a podcaster named Juane Benny. She is a tech and games journalist and streamer, marketing PR specialist, and content creator in the video game and esports industry, who is going to be speaking with Maria Beck, a producer at Sweet Baby Inc., Montreal-based narrative development and consultation studio in the video game industry. If you have not been following or are privy to the happenings in the games industry, specifically revolving around Gamergate, which is that 10-year-old movement that, people want to kill but can't die, this is basically another chapter in that story. We have a consultation company named Sweet Baby Inc. that on its face, it appears to be completely benevolent, and it's just run by a tiny team of little women's, and all they want to do is make little changes and, support their passion for the game that they love so much or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it's basically about control, and it's about taking money and taking control over the industry itself. And they do it under the guise of being widow women's that don't want to hurt a fly, but it's just not true. So,
yeah,
and that's what we're going to be looking at is this interview. Yeah, and we're going to be looking at this interview, particularly a certain chapter. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long, but they get into the meat of it. Most of it is nothing but fluff, but they get into the meat of it about an hour in, and we're going to be looking at that, where they actually talk about all the horrible harassment that they're getting from the bad white men's. So before we get into that,
bad white men's,
yeah, all of the people, by the way, all the gamers that harassing them are obviously cis het white men. Whew, good thing that it was just those guys, the people that we can totally demonize and exclude, and it wasn't a more diverse group. So anyway,
exactly. Thank God they all were orcs. There wasn't any kind of sympathetic character among them.
Nope.
Nope. All right.
So before we get into it, Allison, do the things.
Yeah, I'll do the things. All right. So if at any point you want to send us a message, a criticism, commentary, you want to say you like us, that's unique. That's different. You do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way for you to send us those comments, because they don't go through YouTube's comment surgical enhancement, and whatever funds you send, we get the full or most of the full benefit of it. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you want to support the show, because we are in the last weekish thing going on, I mean, not quite the last week, but getting close to the last week, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. I really encourage you to do that, because we have been doing this for 13 years, 12 years, and we will keep doing it as long as you guys support us, and which gives us the time to do it. So feedthebadger.com/support. And so let's go. We are going to go through the video, the Sweet Baby Inc. video, and then we will do a run through of their latest project, Unusual June.
You have that?
Is that possible? I did send it to you, but
I can't play it. It's on Mac only, Allison.
No, I sent you a PC link recently.
Did you?
But yeah.
I don't have it.
But here, I'll give you a message link and we'll see. Okay, so a little bit of a might be a rain check on playing that, unless so it's just the last message that I sent you is the link. All right.
Oh.
But anyway, we will go through the video. So there you go.
Yeah, I'll download it in the background while we're
I tried to
playing the
download
video.
it on Mac, but apparently they actually got rid of it, so I wasn't able to. So I
Weird.
had to go to another internet to find a potential download link for you, and hopefully
Mhm.
that works.
Oh, they want
I maybe
okay. Well,
what do
we'll
they
come
want?
back to
What
that.
they want money?
No, they want
Do they want
no, they want me to
they want
download
blood?
Avast. They want me to
Biometric?
install. They want me to install Avast secure browser before I get it. But okay. But
We'll see.
let's look at okay. So this is Maria Beck on the screen, and we're gonna like hear them. They're gonna get into the actual meat of the conversation, the bit they really wanted to talk about. And you can tell because you watch the whole thing and it's kind of boring, and then they are like, okay, let's get controversial. So
let's get to the hot take, which is Sweet Baby
Yeah.
Ink.
Yeah.
Let's get to the hot take, right?
That's it,
Because I didn't
yeah.
have one for today, and I was like, oh, we usually have one, but it's you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
aside from the
Oh,
people
yeah.
that really believe in Gaming for the Culture podcast and who want to hear
Yes.
Janae and
Yes.
Maria talk, we have some people listening because they want
Yes.
some type of hot take.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it earlier, and I said I was going to mention it again
Yeah.
because there's been a lot that happened. Would you mind summing up in your own?
all right, so they're getting ready to talk about it. I wanted to point out that it takes them about an hour to get to it, and there is no conversation. Comments are turned off for the video, obviously.
Mhm.
So
As you
there
would
is no
expect.
real conversation going on. All right. So I do have some time codes here. Let's see. So at an hour and 33 seconds, they explain the controversy. So I got to move forward. It was like the arrow keys, right? To move it like 10 seconds. Okay.
I believe
Yeah,
so.
here we go. Yeah,
We
I
need
got
those
it. I got it.
keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to play. I don't know all the keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a listen.
Started trending on Twitter, on X, Twitter. Yeah, year and a half is I think is a good time estimate. I felt a little dumbfounded when it started. And it was just that we consulted on some, I think, major AAA games, God of War Ragnarok and Alan Wake 2 in particular.
All right, for the record, Allison, you don't know what effect they had on those games or much about those games, right? Do you want me to fill it in?
I did
Because she
watch-
just kind of name drops them, but she doesn't really get
Go
into
ahead.
what the
I will
changes
be the
were.
Watson. Go ahead.
Okay, so
what were the changes?
So
Frame?
God of War Ragnarok, and this is the irony of the God of War franchise. You remember 10 years ago, we had on David Jaffe, who was the director and designer behind.
It was earlier than 10.
Yeah, it was
Not
earlier
just
than
10,
that.
like, we
Maybe.
got
It was like
couple
right
that.
when Gamergate was starting up. Right when Gamergate was starting. So like 2014. So it was like 12 years ago. And
Yeah.
we had him on because of this controversy where I think he saw, I think it was like some prom thing where like the dates for the prom were dressed up as, the men were dressed up as like sort of like, superhero themed outfits, and the women were like pinning, like flowers on them or something like that, right? And he basically like stepped on a landmine and got into it, and we brought him on our show. So he was at the time someone who would push back on kind of like, Bush League journalism, as he called it, because he was promoting his game God of War 3 at the time, and God of War 3 was a very popular game. People were very much anticipating it, and of course, the journalists, I think it was over at IGN or something like that, they were trying to accuse him of putting like, kind of sexist things in the game, or making a sexist comment because he said that if you can like let your girlfriend play or something like that, right? He made a comment that about a girlfriend and gaming, and he was not happy with it. So we brought him on our show, but he didn't really like us either. He thought that we were kind of sexist. And I warned him, I said that like, this is going to become a problem, this ideology. And he didn't really think it was a problem at the time. But then he stopped working on, he was no longer working with the company. I think they changed the name to Santa Monica. They were called something else before. I can't remember it now. It doesn't matter. And then a different team took over the God of War franchise, and they changed the tone of the games completely. And they're in a genre people call sad dad games, where you have, like, if there's a male character, he's kind of pathetic and depressed, and he hates himself for some reason. And this is what the God of War franchise became. Whereas before, it was like this, very like high action. You're like this Greek warrior, and you're killing everything in your path, and it's meant to be a kind of like, you come home from a bad day at work, you just want to kill things. That's what video games are, right? They're like for some people, they're like a release, of like, you're just unwinding by like killing a bunch of enemies. And then like the God of War franchise became this like emotional, kind of roller coaster of like, oh, I've done so much bad in my life. And it's like this self-deprecating humiliation ritual. And they made a sequel to that, God of War Ragnarok, where they took it even further, and they actually had the main character Kratos confront his former self from the original games to take a shit on that. And so it's an extreme act of like disrespect, right, to these games that people liked. And Sweet Baby Inc. worked on that. So like these are the kinds of ways that they have an influence. It's not just like, yeah, they do like the race swaps and the gender swap things and the girl boss things. Yes, they do that stuff. And yeah, it's annoying and I don't like it. But they also like change the sort of like the fundamental DNA of the product they get their hands on, especially if it's a well-established franchise and one that's aimed at men, or at least it's popular with men. So like they'll do that to those things, right? And God of War was one. The other one, Alan Wake. All I know about that is in Alan Wake 2, there was a female cop character in the original game that was white, and they made her a black woman, and they didn't even explain it. They just changed it for no reason. Well, other than that's what Sweet Baby Inc. wanted, because the thing is that they take these ideas of representation, of inclusivity, whatever it is that they're doing, and they put it above everything else. They say that it's not the case, but it is. It becomes the primary motivation for everything they do. So, and yeah, and the gameplay for God of War changed as well. Yes, but I'm mainly focused on like the story stuff, because that's the stuff that these people have an impact on. So anyway, she's sort of like laying it out. Let me look at what I see. Tealdier's in our chat. Tealdier says, we consulted on games that turned out to be hot garbage. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. Yes. Okay. So, I mean, God of War, I guess it was still like pretty popular, but it's not the same as what it used to be. And David Jaffe, by the way, he's still like coping. He's like, oh no, it's just, things change. People change, it's just not. He's like accepting that they basically destroyed his legacy. And I know he probably really wants to be mad, but he doesn't think he's allowed to be, because I'd be pissed.
Well, I mean, he says we're kind of sexist. Geez, that's kind of like, that's pretty kind of sexist. I was hoping for massive sexist.
Well, at the time, I think we were only kind of sexist. Well, no, he was trying to.
Sexist.
But the
now
thing is,
it's massive sexist.
It was his way of sort of like pushing back. So I think he would have gone further, but he wanted to try and talk to us. So instead, he would just like, I don't know, man, that's kind of sexist, And I was like, no, it's not. Like, it's just facts. Like, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. But anyway, let's keep going.
Let's hear
I think
some
there's
more.
another, yeah.
And I think because the way the industry is set up, in part, we are not always allowed to talk about all of the details of whatever the heck we are asked to work on. And honestly, like from a person,
You mean they're non-disclosure agreements because you're dealing with stuff that people don't want. The leaks are not, spoilers are not they don't want you to do that. So is she upset over that, or she just
I think she's trying to explain, but like I think she's trying to say, well, there are people who are upset that don't really know what we're doing, and part of it is because we can't tell them what we're doing. But that's not really the issue. This is what I'm saying. Like the issue is that there were things that were changed that were either completely unnecessary and really obvious. And I don't even really like to use the word pandering, because pandering almost sounds like what you're doing is for like these people as a
group of people. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not. You're doing it for yourself. It's self-serving narcissism for other narcissists. That's what it is. But anyway, let's
Well,
keep
I
going.
could get in with that. I could actually add something to that. This entire narrative of these vulnerable groups that need to be protected by a certain class of women, that is how they assert themselves as morally superior to men. That's the bedrock. So, you have to have women in the workplace, specifically in power in the workplace over, for example, hiring decisions, because women will make these decisions in the right way. And the right way is to benefit those in need who they have identified as certain minorities. Right. So, and that entire narrative means that they are morally superior to men. And this is the thing that this particular class or demographic of women, that's what they're after. Like, I remember at the beginning of this, there's like a little montage where you see this white woman, maybe she's Jewish, I don't think it matters in this context, but she talks about how she doesn't feel good about being white. And then she pivots to, and boys, they should be even, I mean, boys have even more privilege than I do and girls do. And that is the payload for her. It's not the feeling guilty about being white. It is the feeling of self-righteousness about being a woman. And that's what these people are after.
And
so when they say pandering, when they say pandering to these groups,
go ahead.
It's pandering to these women's self-righteousness. It's not pandering to these groups. These groups are just props in their passion play about how they are morally better than men. Yep. Yes. There you go. All right, I'm done.
Yes. And there are some people within those groups that will eat this up, but like for the most part, if you're interested in something, whether it's Star Trek or Star Wars or a video game or an anime, it doesn't matter. You are interested before these people came along and gave you permission to be interested, because that's what it feels like. It's like they come along and they're like, I'm here to save the X group, and the people who belong to the group are supposed to feel rescued by these people, but they're not, because again, they were already interested. Like, who's trying to make Dragon Ball Z more inclusive to Mexicans? They love that shit. so anyway, but let's keep going.
That we could share, the stuff that we work on and how we do it. I think like knowledge sharing is important, and I like transparency as a producer. So that's already a side of this where I'm like sad that that's not something that was able to happen or can happen. And so I think it turned into a bunch of people pulling different clips and pieces of media and sentences from GDC talks and information and gathering them and then creating very quick, fast assumptions on a very small team.
So now she's claiming that they were being taken out of context. That's what that means. Now there's an infamous clip. I could find it, perhaps. I'm sure that it's everywhere, of Kim Belair, the CEO or leader or whatever, chairperson of Sweet Baby Inc., saying what they do, which is essentially to shake down game studios to change the content of their games to match their specific narrative goals. Otherwise, they will face, suits, basically, like civil suits, complaints. They'll go after them. So I'm gonna find it. You guys probably heard this already, but I'm going to get it for you anyway.
Well, but they also say this, they talk about this narrative, like, it's been applied to them. But even in this video, they very clearly identify their black categories. Right? I mean, it's like they want to be able to condemn and implicate white cis het men, which is, when they say that, they just mean male masculine man. That's it.
Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah,
And that
masculine male
includes,
men.
yeah, that
But
includes gay men. That even
Mhm.
includes flaming gay men. It includes anything with a penis.
It even includes
Ultimately.
women who don't like
Yeah,
basically agree
it
with them.
includes
Like,
me because I'm
mhm.
supposed to have like I am supposed to transition according to feminists because I don't deserve the right to have the female power that they deny exists. I've had
Mhm.
them argue this with me. You know, why don't you just transition? You don't deserve to be blah 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 to be considered as a female. I'm like, all right. So anybody, any of the penis people and any of the penis people sympathizers, that's what cis het white male means.
Yeah.
It means man at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep
All right, let
going.
me show you the clip. I want to show you the clip. This is what she's referencing when people say they take things we said and they like pluck them out of context. They don't know the full context. So I want you to tell me what additional context could possibly change this.
Put this stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
What does that sound like? I mean, that's what they do. And well, I mean, most of the time, teams will just bend the knee to them because they're already woke anyway, or they think because what Sweet Baby Inc. does is, and they're not the only ones. Like I've said this forever. Like this is like a very small part of a much bigger problem. But what the truth is that what these people do is they sell the idea that if you put feminism and all of these like progressive politics and various identity groups and representation groups in their media, it will sell better. And some studios, probably a lot of them, they buy into it. I mean, they recently changed Warhammer 40,000 to include female custodies, which is completely unheard of. But they did it simply because people told them, no, this is going to work, man. People want this. And it's just not true. So, yeah. And they've sunken studios. They've destroyed studios. They've made them go broke and everything. Of course, they blame the gamers for that, but go ahead.
Of course, but this is actually pervasive across all mediums. It's not just games, it's animation, it's comics,
books.
It literature. Is, and I've actually done a like 2-month deep dive into what happened to the publishing industry. I can tell you in a single word or an acronym what happened to the publishing industry, because what happened to the publishing industry was awful. Was affluent, a whole bunch of female
liberals.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened to the publishing industry, and it is currently imploding. They don't say that. They say that everything is healthy and fine, because they do. But essentially what happened is between the 90s and now, they completely switched their product offering. And instead of as the sales numbers decline, because if you look at blockbusters in like the 70s and 80s, they're huge. Like I think the Da Vinci Code sold like 40 million, and then their Jaws sold like 10. You know, these were huge blockbusters, and now their blockbusters sell maybe 1 million, maybe 2 million. So they've gone down by a significant percentage. They're not addressing that fact. They say that the reason why people don't read anymore is not because they kept putting a product that nobody wants in front of them, but this is the big 5, but the big 6 publishing houses. It's because of fractured attention. Except I think you'll notice that people, if they find a game they really like, they'll play it for days. If people find a light novel series, they'll binge it. You know, if they find web serials they enjoy, they'll be reading it for weeks, right? This isn't a problem of attention span, nor is it a problem of word of mouth. That's their other big thing. Oh, there's no word of mouth anymore. Are you kidding me? Like 30 years ago, I had maybe 30 people I could recommend a book to, you know, friends, family, and my writers group, you know. Now I have a Discord of like 800 plus people, And then I'm part of other discourse. There's no way that word of mouth isn't force multiplied by these online communities. And yet they insist that this is why. And it absolutely isn't the fact that a whole bunch of awfuls are choosing awful product and trying to force it down people's throats. And in particular, the awful product that they're creating is a genre that I call vindication. So this is how vindication works. A put upon woman finds out that she was perfect all along, and her only problem was that she didn't appreciate herself enough. That is the vindication genre. And they have pushed out another type of genre, which, you know, these genres that I'm creating, these are like original to me, so don't look for them, at least until I get this research out. They pushed out another genre, which I like to call the male moral competence genre. And what is the male moral competence genre? It is a competent man making a difficult ethical choice who then suffering the consequences of that choice. So for example, if it is a good choice, he will have to sacrifice for something in order to protect others. If it's a bad choice, he decides not to sacrifice, then ultimately it will be like a downfall narrative, like Scarface, you know? So that's that kind of narrative. When the publishing industry 100% embraced the male moral competence narrative, they saw the biggest gains in terms of readership and unit sales. All right. When they moved from that narrative and had a whole bunch of awfuls come into the publishing industry and start pushing the vindication narrative on everyone, then they started to see the big declines. And one of the big things that happened is the publishing industry went from having a majority of books that stayed on the New York Times bestseller list for 10 weeks plus to a majority of books that only stay on the list for a single week. So they get a push, they hit high, and they disappear. This is because the big six keeps pushing vindication narratives. And get this, women don't like them either. They've pushed out the kind of stories even women like, because women like romance. Well, you know how romance gets on the New York Times bestseller list? Well, a independent romance author will publish her romance independent of the big six. And then when it gets a lot of money, the big six will grab it up and publish it, like do a second publishing of it. Right? That's how that happens. They don't even like romance, guys. These awfuls, these affluent white female liberals do not even like romance because it's, you know, it's about a woman trying to appeal to a penis person. That's sort of like patriarchy.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't even like that. So they've pushed romance off of their list. They don't even really legitimately publish it or push it. They don't, and God forbid if you talk about any kind of male focused fiction, they don't even touch that with like a 20-foot pole. So they've pushed out all of the type of stories that men and women like, and they keep flogging this vindication narratives. And here's what they do with like the female one, the romance. A romance properly structured is two people who are each other's greatest antagonists who learn nevertheless that they're better off together. Okay. And then they choose the relationship over independence. This applies to romance and applies to buddy cop movies, which is called buddy love. Same formula. When these big six get their claws on it, they turn it into a vindication narrative in which the man always loved the woman, so she was always going to get him, and he bends over backwards and breaks his spine to kiss her freaking ass and tell her how she was perfectly wonderful all along. She never needed to try to prove anything to him ever. She was totally just worthy, and she should never have doubted herself. And that's not romance. That's a vindication narrative with romance gloss. And then when they try I know this is becoming a bit of a side quest now. Then when they try to write or to put something that's like a male focused narrative, they do something like this book called 2034, in which India saves the day and the US just talks about how awful it is. And one of the main characters is a female U.S. Navy SEAL who is absolutely the best SEAL ever, and a female admiral, and also a female president. And yeah, and it's all about how America bad, and India saves the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and so again, it's a vindication narrative with competence gloss. And it off screens all of its actual actions. So you don't actually get to see anyone being competent. It just fades to black. It's like just a whole bunch of policy meetings on how awful America. And then they're like, well, we got to do something. Well, we're not going to show that because that's showing people being competent. We don't do that here. I thought, and this is what they're doing. They are pushing a product nobody wants. Nobody. And they're insisting that the problem is the audience. So you're like, when you talk about games, you remember the sad puppies who are on the edge of this? They didn't even capture how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
And all it is these moral, didactic moral plays about how these awful women are just perfectly perfect just as they are. And they just keep churning this stuff out. Nobody wants it, but they keep churning it out. And I think that this is basically what's happening with Sweet Baby Inc. Except with games, you actually have to have talent. With writing, it's a secondary thing.
Right.
You don't really have
well,
to.
I think with the games though, too, with the games too, though, is that they will conceal a really awful like story premise or like woke elements in a game that actually has decent mechanics. So like it might be fun to play. And that's a really sneaky way of getting your story in, like your narrative across, because normies aren't like sensitive to that stuff. They just want to play a fun game. And so like, people will try to convince me like, oh, you should play God of War Ragnarok because the gameplay is really good. It's like, yeah, but I know what it's really about. So I don't really care. I can find, games that play well that don't, ham fist a preachy narrative into me about masculinity and how it needs to be deconstructed. No, I don't need it. I don't care how good the game is. But this is like another way that they do it because you have, when there are people working on a video game, you're right, Allison, it requires talent. So you're going to have like people that know what they're doing, but they're usually working on the end of like, the gameplay and the engine that it's going to run on and all these other things. And the narrative people, like these people, they don't do any of that stuff. They're over there in the background, saying put a chick in it and make her gay. So, and then they just tell the grunts that are actually like producing the product everybody wants. And they're like, you got to put this stuff in there because we heard it'll sell. And they do. But like, it doesn't, I think that it sort of like makes it difficult to criticize the games that sell well, but still have this stuff in them. It is a challenge, but I think that people are starting to realize, they can see when something is shit when they look at it. And plus the indie games, and this is the thing too, is the indie games and the AA titles are really rising up because they have the, let's say, the benefit of not having to deal with this sort of top-down bureaucratic control over their narratives, and they can make the game they really want to. And you have like a smaller team, they're more agile, they can like, accomplish goals more efficiently. Everyone's on the same page. And with these guys want to work on AAA titles because they want to use the brand to sell their ideas. So they'll work on Spider-Man 2, which is one of the games they worked on. They'll work on God of War because it's a massive property. Because they get to push their crap through there, and they just presume that. And this is the thing that's the most insulting. They presume that gamers are dumb and they'll just eat up whatever's put in front of them if it has like the current year or whatever the new sequel is plastered on the box. And that's why I think it's what I try to push people to do is to look at smaller titles. If you like, a certain game from a brand that's gone woke, look for something like it in a smaller studio. There's lots out there. We're in no shortage of people making stuff, especially now that the tools are more accessible and allow more people to create. So anyway, that's what I would say. But anyway, let's see what time code I'm looking at here. 102.39. Yeah, this is the next one.
They need in order to improve their game. And I think we do that, we do that successfully because we're talking about really popular and games that I think a lot of people have enjoyed.
So she was explaining what they do, and this is actually getting to what I'm saying. She says Well, what we do is we help them, like, you know, round out their story ideas. And I think we do it well because we work on really big games. You see, this is putting the cart before the horse, though. She works on big games and then gets to boast about how that makes her more legitimate for working on more games. But that doesn't necessarily mean that what she's doing is good for that title. She just got that job. And again, if these people are willing to, you know, perform like shakedowns to get a team to change, how do we know that they're not shaking them down to get the job? Like, oh, we're a mostly female and non-binary team. You should bring us on board. Well, what if we don't? Well, you're gonna get in trouble because why would you not hire women and minority groups over here, right? And they're like, okay, we don't want a lawsuit. We don't want bad press. They're well connected. They know the people in the games journalist sites, and I think that they all work together. So.
Yeah. Do they ever get into the alleged harassment that they received?
Yeah, they do. That's coming up here, actually. 104.
Okay.
Do you want me to? Yeah, let's keep going.
You're an indie or AAA fan. That doesn't, that's everyone. I think has enjoyed a lot of the games, but I think the discourse that started and has just kind of like roller coastered all the way through. Goes beyond criticism, right? It goes into things that can't really be proven and a conspiracy that's not true and just a whole bunch of other things. And so, it
is a conspiracy that's not true. Is it not true because you're not taking the actions, or is it not true because you think they're correct and people shouldn't be able to judge them? Because I think it's the second one. They are indeed doing what they are doing, and the gamers have correctly identified what they are doing, because not only is Sweet Baby Inc. doing it, it is publicly saying that it's doing it. What she means is that the conspiracy is that people don't view it in the same way she does, as a universal positive. So you're only supposed to notice it. It's an interesting form of like conspiracy condemnation of conspiracy theories. No, the conspiracy is actually happening, but the conspiracy theory part comes in from you not liking it and not supporting it. You get what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah.
The conspiracy is true, but you can only notice it if you support it. Otherwise, you're a conspiracy theorist, and then you're a bad person. So I think that's what she's doing here. She's like, these actions we're doing are 100%, we're doing them, but you can't notice and not like it. You have to support it. And if you notice and you don't support it, then it's a conspiracy. It is this infuriating way that women think. And in particular, it is women. It's like, the behavior is irrelevant. It's how you feel about it, whether you support it, right? You can't just be like, this is happening, this behavior is happening. If you notice, you have to support it. Otherwise, it's a conspiracy. And it's all based on what they feel you should feel about something. And it's like infuriating. All right, let's
well, there's another thing too. I wonder if this is a question. Okay, what if she thinks the reason why she believes that we believe it's a conspiracy is because of the way she perceives what they're doing versus what gamers perceive them to be doing? So what she perceives them to be doing, what she perceives her people to be doing, is something inherently an inherently moral good. Like, we are helping to make games better. And how are they made better? Because we're making them more inclusive, we're making them more diverse, we're making them more female friendly, we are improving them. They are being objectively improved on by our presence. We're making them better. And gamers are saying, no, these are making them worse. And
you're also targeting,
they're both looking at the same thing. Huh?
What? You're also targeting in actually trying to make things better for your minority moral puppets.
Your purse puppies.
You are targeting men, and you're targeting men's interests.
Yes, so and they're saying, no, that's a conspiracy theory because you are perceiving the good thing we're doing as a bad thing, which means you must be looking at something different. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
All right, so it's a conspiracy theory because they're recognizing the negative parts of what they're doing rather than the positive parts, which they
Mhm.
define, right?
Yes,
And
of
aren't
course.
particularly positive either.
Yes.
But yeah, and also the word conspiracy or the phrase conspiracy theory, let's face it, it's male coded. So they're just basically saying that's male. And they don't even have
Mhm.
to qualify that. That's male.
Well,
And
like
automatically we're all
recognizing
supposed to array against it.
yeah. Recognizing
Go on.
patterns in behavior is what they would call a conspiracy theory, but it's something men are good at. We like look at we recognize patterns, and when we see the same group of people advocating for the same things, and there's a trail of destroyed franchises in their wake, which there is. You can look at Concord, which like lasted 10 days before they shut it down, and it was all because of how ugly it was. It had nothing to do with the gameplay. You have Suicide Squad kill the Justice League, which died. I mean, I think there's like a handful of people that still play it. You have Dustborn, which was a narrative-driven game. You have the Unknown 9 Awakening. Like I can go on, but there's like one dead idea after another, and these people were involved with all of them. And so like gamers are looking at that and like, yeah, every time you guys try to put out shit, it doesn't matter if it's a property that's got, decades and decades of history like God of War or like Suicide Squad, or if it's a brand new IP like Unknown 9 Awakening or Concord, you destroy it all the same. I think that what you guys are producing is a problem. And
Yep.
And it's also, they also criticize and attack the stuff that gamers like. So like Stellar Blade or The First Descendant or Bayonetta or some game that has like attractive women in it, or male characters like Gears of War or Halo. They go after those as well because they're like, well, you're straight white male protagonist, whatever. They actually do that in this conversation. So men are just saying, oh, I see. You just don't like the stuff that we like. So why should we support you?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Why? Why
yeah.
indeed?
All right.
Okay,
let's keep going.
The harassment.
Resulted in, us speaking to media, Kim talking and kind of explaining things as much as she can. And then, at the end of all of that, a whole lot of harassment.
Really?
Really?
Oh,
of
really?
Course.
Of course. And you were just completely innocent. Sweet Baby Inc. was just completely innocent in all of that. No, they started it. Right? This stream. Okay, so essentially, Steam curator Sweet Baby Inc. detected went up in January 2024, listing games with SBI involvement and recommending people avoid them as woke. It did not call for harassment. It was a boycott info tool. Sweet Baby employee Chris Kindred then posted on X, tagged the curator and Steam, called it a harassment group, which was a lie. Essentially blaming them for what Chris was then going to encourage, and told followers to report the fuck out of the group and report the creator since he loves his account so much. Right? And I believe that resulted in doxing, did it?
They tried to, I think, like get information on the guy who created the group. His name is Cabrutus Rambo. I interviewed him. He's a Brazilian gamer that was just like a normal gamer dude that was just like, I'm gonna like make a list of all of the games that these people have worked on so people know what they're getting into. And they tried to get his information. I don't know if they succeeded, but I did talk to Cabrutus way back when this first broke. Yeah. So
yeah. But okay, so and then another employee, Maya Kramer, publicly urged those with authority to step in and shut the curator down. So the classic top-down call report brigade aimed not just at content, but getting one named user's account destroyed. Only after that did the story explode, with bigger accounts picking up and the harassment of quote-unquote harassment of SBI staff escalated. Harassment or people expressing their discontent? Are letters to the editor harassment now?
yes, Allison.
They engaged in top-down warfare, and then when people noticed this and said, we don't like it, they called it harassment. No, it's not. It's people just not liking what you do. right? And this is the thing, like this is that whole attitude that any kind of external feedback or an external standard is somehow immediately suspect and illegitimate, and you get to operate in your own little solipsistic bubble for the rest of eternity, except that your solipsistic bubble isn't confined to you. You get to enforce all of its norms on everyone else. So this is a situation where they started it. 100%. They started it. And people were trying to defend their victim.
Yep.
I just wanted to point that out because there's no like two sides here. They started it. People tried to defend their victim. That's it. Okay, continue.
All right. Yeah, let's continue.
Really, really terrible things said to either me or my colleagues who are also.
Oh,
my
you mean
friends.
things like you suck, you're targeting people?
Yeah, no, we're not going to get, we don't get any receipts. There's no screenshots.
We don't get any receipts.
There's nothing. We don't even get
None-
like
none for-
Photoshop screenshots. She just gets to say it. Yeah, we were harassed. I was almost killed like 20 times. Like you can just say whatever. And people are just like, oh yeah, I guess that happened to you.
Yeah, it's because it's a girl. It's a
no
woman.
evidence, no nothing. Yeah, that's it. Yep. Here,
That's it.
here,
It's just-
here's your invitation to the speak at the UN.
Yeah. Well, but this is how it works. It's just like a woman gets up there and says, male. And then everybody's like, male, 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 get club, male. Like, people are so. Tell me that's not the way it is. Like,
No, it is the way it is. I mean, her interviewee is not going to push back. She's like, "Oh yeah, I get it all the
No.
time too. Let's all participate. Let's go arm in arm and talk about how almost dead we are always at all times, living in the
and
first
whenever
world."
you hear all their qualifiers, right? All of their qualifiers just mean male, right? They're just saying pure male. That's it. That's all they mean when they put in all of these qualifiers. It's just
Mhm.
basically white, another way of saying male. We investigated that years ago. And basically, whiteness is masculinity. Go figure. So it basically, when you say white, you can replace it with masculine. When you say cis, you can replace it with male. When you say het, I don't know. That one's a little bit more difficult. But as we know, the gay men are the straight men of gay people. But so when you say cis white male, or sorry, cis
You can
white
say
man,
het. It's just a
you're-
compiling penalties. Because if
Yeah,
they
it's
are
just- but it
heterosexual,
all
you say
means
so.
male.
If they're
all
not, you don't
means
have to.
male.
But it's not necessary.
Because-
No, for sure.
Heterosexuals are men who desire women. So you could just replace it with male desire. So basically, white cis male, I'll just go with white cis male, is masculine male man. That's all it is. Masculine male man.
Mhm.
That's it. And that applies to all men, even if you're not white, because black men are masculine. Heterosexual men Latino men are masculine. Asian men are masculine. A little
Well, remember,
bit
they
different.
claim in this, we haven't gotten to it yet, but they claim later that all these are white guys. But the guy
Yep.
who started Sweet Baby Inc. Detected was from Brazil. He was a Brazilian guy. But he's
when
a
they
white guy
say-
now because he's still a man.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, exactly. When they say white cis man, they mean masculine male man. That's what they mean. And that applies to every man. Ironically, because again, black men are the white men of black people. Gay men are the
Mm-hmm.
heterosexual men of straight men of gay people. Latino men are just white now. Sorry, Brian, you got demoted.
It's okay. Yeah.
I think Asian
I
men
guess
are
I'm going
just
to cash
white
in on
now,
that
too.
privilege card. So
Yeah, exactly.
I got a Rumble rant I should read before we keep going. NovaFan21 gave us $1 and says, one of my favorite ways to protest them, if I had to, would be to have a program that spits out literal woke slop games with all of their beliefs, flood the market, and even normies will be sick of them. Well, they are trying to do that, and I don't think that those
Normies
games are
are
doing
sick of
well.
them.
Yeah, I don't think
Like,
that those games are
that's-
doing well.
That's the thing, guys. It's like Normies, like, this is what really startled me when I went into my deep dive in the publishing industry. Normies don't like their crap. They 100% don't like with the publishing industry, because these people have such a lock on every aspect of it. So they completely controlled the product. There was nothing going out that people actually liked, right? So they took an industry that could move 40 million units and they turned it into an industry that's lucky if it can move one in its big sellers. I mean, think about that, guys. That's what they did to the publishing industry. And they put out this product and nobody wants it. They don't even put out product that women want. This is what blows people's minds, I think. It's like that Tumblr. I don't know if you ever saw that Tumblr drawing where a female artist, I think it was a female artist, she drew what women like in a character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
what
I
women
do
like
remember
in a
that.
character, what men like in a female character, and what woke social justice Tumblr feminists like in a character. And the first one was like, an attractive, like she looked like she was in like a gown, and she had woodland friends, and she was an attractive, she wore makeup, and that was the female character that women like. And then you saw the female character that men like, and a little less clothing, more skin, a little more makeup, carrying a gun. And then you see the character that woke SJW Tumblr feminists like, and it was basically just a human-shaped eraser. Eraser end. It's like, it's exactly the same in the publishing industry. They don't want to cater to women. I know people probably listening here are astounded at me saying that. The publishing industry does not want to cater to women because women like penises too much. And it doesn't want to cater to men because they have
unless they're
penises.
like Minotaur penis or something, then yeah, they're
okay. It's as weird as that is.
Unless it's like dragon dick, like they seem to be
as
okay
weird
with that.
As all of that is, like, generally the romantasy is normal humans, but okay, as weird as all of that is, that didn't come from the publishing industry. Because they don't identify the trends that women like. Because they're not interested in that. They're only interested in their version of fiction, which is vindication fiction and didactic intersectional ziggurat fiction. And they keep pushing it and killing their market. And the reason why it is so stark in the publishing industry is because people like this control every single lever. And you don't have to actually be talented to make these books. Occasionally I come across women who've been published in this industry complaining about how they don't get the kind of publishing push from the big six that they thought they deserved. And I'm like, no, actually you shouldn't have been published in the first place. The only reason you got published is likely because whatever crap you put out, and it is crap, struck a nerve with the awful gatekeepers in the publishing industry. And they should have rejected it because it was bad, but they published it because it hit their boxes. And you don't deserve a push. You don't deserve you don't deserve any publicity. And I would like to remind every author who's been published in this stupid system that the mid-list never got publicity 20, 30 years ago. They never, the big five, the big six didn't hold the hands of authors 20, 30 years ago. They didn't give them tours. They didn't try to put them in book talk. They did nothing. And these books sold through word of mouth because they were good. And this stuff is not good. Men don't like it. Women don't like it. Little small furry creatures from Alpha Centauri sure as hell don't like it. Nobody likes it except the awfuls, and even the awfuls don't like it. I'm guarantee that if
they probably don't read it. They want it out there, but they don't read it. Yeah.
If you asked an awful, okay, what's your favorite book? Of course, they would trot out one of these abominations, but I guarantee they didn't read it. Okay, let's keep going.
All right, let's get into some more time codes. Okay.
And just, after that, when you see co-studio devs, or you see colleagues who you've gotten to know and you respect their work and you appreciate your day in, day out work that you do with them, they try and say something to say, hey, this is not how that's going. Sweet Baby doesn't make the rules. They suggest a lot of things, but
Well, that's
they are not the
interesting
final
because
decision.
that video that you showed Brian suggests that Sweet Baby may not make the rules, but they sure as hell enforce the fear of breaking them.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know how it's almost like they use proxies so that they can point to the proxies and say, well, we didn't do that. They use you see what I'm saying? So like if
Yeah.
a woman convinces her the man that she's cheating on her husband with to kill her husband, and he does it, and then the police come
Mhm.
looking, she'd be like, well, I didn't do it, he did that. I'm not involved with what he decides to do. He's a grown-ass man.
Mhm.
So I mean,
Cookie Mangler says
yeah.
Cookie Mangler says I prefer pecker people.
The penis people? Yeah, pecker people. That's kind of
Yeah,
rolls
to
off the
penis
tongue.
people, pecker people.
No pun intended.
Mhm.
Don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of any of this,
Okay.
maybe don't do that. Then they get the dog pile of harassment and hate. And the hate and the harassment, I think, is a larger conversation, I think, even outside of games. But you just experience.
Yes, people hate your work.
Yeah, but no, she is planting
People
that
hate
seed
your
though.
work.
This is beyond games. So that means that on some level she recognizes that this pushback is everywhere. That there are people that are like,
Mhm.
and a lot of it, most of it, in fact, is just people not supporting them. Like the overwhelming majority of the pushback is people just not supporting them, not going to the movies to watch their shit, not like canceling their subscription services, not buying their games, not reading their books. And then they're telling other people, this is why I don't like this. And their friends are like, oh, thanks for the heads up. I will also not support that. And they're saying this is harassment because they want to control what you consume and they want to force it on you. But they can't do that yet. They can't make state sponsored content. Although a lot of the books that I think get that supposedly go to the market and fail, they actually, a lot of them end up in libraries. So they end up getting used anyways, and they're just paid for by tax dollars now. That's what happened with comics, for example. A lot of the comics that were failed, the person behind putting those out in Marvel, her name was Sana Amanat. She was like friends with the Obamas, and she was a narrative designer, which is essentially like editor-in-chief at Marvel Comics, and she was putting in all this woke shit like Ms. Marvel. And when she was interviewed about this, she said the sales don't matter. It's about making impact. And while that sounds ridiculous, then you learn that most of the books that she pushed out there, it didn't matter if they succeeded or not in the comic shops because they ended up in libraries and they ended up in school libraries. So the students, if you're like, well, go to the library, you got to read something and all that's there is this garbage, then the kids are going to read it because that's all there is. So it's just like it's another way to get to the kids at the end of the day, right? So it's about the message. Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
What about phallus folk?
Phallus
okay,
folk.
we got like
yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's not
penis
bad.
people, pecker people, phallus folk. The phallus folk is actually pretty good because it's it's like that you find them in the woods in like a mushroom circle. And it's yeah, I like that one, the phallus folk. The pecker people is a little bit I don't want to say aggressive, but a little more crude. The phallus folk really emphasizes like they're a culturally different entity.
Dick dudes. No, I'm kidding.
Dick dudes.
Dick dudes.
Here. Dick dudes.
The phallus fellowship.
The phallus folk. Okay.
That amount of eyes and that amount of hate on you, and you have to really think about it, and you have to still keep working, and you still have to do the thing that you're doing because you think it's
I just want to point something out. You remember, like on Monday, we talked about what's going on in Minnesota, and we pointed out that a whole bunch, like men are being targeted. Let's face it. There's apparently also Hispanic men being targeted now, Brian.
Well, a lot of the guys that work at ICE are minority men.
Yes.
A lot of
yeah,
them.
but
So
there's Hispanic men that have been targeted by these groups because apparently a Hispanic man wore a blazer that made him look like he might be ICE. I believe that's what happened. So
sure.
men are being targeted by these crowds. I mean, in particular, it seems like they have a particular demographic that they prefer, but in general, it's men that are being targeted by these crowds, by these lynch mobs. And I just want to point out that these women are doing the same thing. They've constructed a black category around white cis men. Well, sorry, masculine male men. They've constructed a category around that, and they have cast them in, and they are encouraging this kind of demonization of that group that right now is getting men in Minnesota targeted for violence. That's what these people are doing. Now, they may not be the originators of the original threat narrative against men, but they sure as hell are employing it in an incredibly selfish way to cover their own malfeasance. Because you deserve hate if you try to target people for doing something they have every right to do. You try to dox them, you try to get their accounts shut down, right? You deserve hate for that, lady. And now you are using some kind of narrative of harassment and threat to evade the fact that your behavior is hateful and deserves people saying that it's hateful and they don't like you for it, right? You get what I'm saying? But it all contributes. It all contributes to the same narrative that's getting men targeted in Minnesota. And no doubt, as this conflagration of absolute nonsense increases, men will be targeted everywhere. We're going back to lynching culture, everyone. Yay. Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Improving the games that you work on, like genuinely. And
So they just presume that it's automatically an improvement, what they're doing. They're just improving games, objectively improving them. Why don't you like it? You must believe in conspiracy theories.
oh yeah, I think that's the best way that I can sum it up.
You did a good job. You did a good job
Thank
summing it
you.
up. The troll language that needs to be used here of what's going on is that cis white men were not interested in the work that Sweet Baby Inc. put into for something that was already created, like we talked about earlier, right? Like
That's right.
people
Cis white men.
Yeah.
Masculine male men. Masculine male men. Because as we know, white is a synonym for masculine. Cis is a synonym for male. And man is man. No, white, masculine male men. That's what she's saying. Masculine male men did not appreciate what they did with the games they were a part of. And because it was masculine male men who didn't like it, that judgment is obviously wrong. That's how it works. Right? You just say, oh, it's masculine male men who are judging whatever thing I'm up to, whether it's a gigantic network of bureaucratic graft or it is constantly pushing validation stories in the publishing industry that nobody wants, or you're a Sweet Baby Inc. consultant who's destroying the actual game, like destroying games. It doesn't matter. If you cast your critics and the people judging you as masculine male men, then you remove the legitimacy of all oversight. And even if it's women saying it and then saying, I'm not interested in the stuff that Sweet Baby Inc., you got to know that those women have penises in their brain. So they are also masculine male men.
They're also dick dudes.
Yeah, they're just dick dude puppets.
Yep.
They're just
dick puppets. Dick puppets.
Dick puppets.
Dick
They're
sleeves.
puppeted by the dick. Yeah.
Yes, they are puppeted by the dick. It controls them. Let's see. 105. There's a bit more to this time code. Yeah, so let's keep going.
to you with them, and they were
Yeah.
like, we just don't want to see minorities. We
Yeah.
don't want to see minorities.
Again, like this is like a ridiculous claim because again, like most of the people against this are minority men, but they're taking a hobby that is inherently male. Sorry, it is. Women play games too, but it's still they're basically visiting a space and they're saying we got to change it. And then when these guys are like, do what you want with your games, like the games that you guys control, but just we don't like what you're doing to the stuff that we have been playing for like decades. And they're like, oh, I see. You're just being white men right now. They have that saying.
Masculine men.
Yeah, you're not. They don't call you. They don't kill you because you're white. They call you white so they can kill you.
At the end of
Yeah.
the day, they don't want to
Yeah.
see minorities, and they
They
don't
are
have-
minorities. Like this is the thing. The minority men don't like your book, your games either. But again, when they say white, they mean masculine. When they say cis, they mean male. And when they say men, they mean men. At least that's completely honest, right?
Also, whites whites literally are a global minority. But go ahead.
But so when they say white cis men, they mean all men, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, even when you're talking about like a flaming gay man, they mean him too. And femboys, they mean them too. So even what you might consider not masculine men, they also mean that, as long as they agree, as long as they are being judged by them, right? As long as they share the same beliefs as the white cis het men, they are in fact in that category. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're femme. It doesn't matter if you're a minority. It doesn't matter if you're a woman. We are all white cis men. All of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Spartacus moment.
Yeah, we're all cis white men. All right, there's a little bit more left in this one.
They don't have the ability to cancel someone who is like Remedy or like an Ubisoft or something like that, and they really don't have the ability to cancel.
That's hilarious. Do you guys know how much money Ubisoft is losing right now? Like they're saying these white guys can't cancel Remedy or Ubisoft, those like massive companies. So they come after the little people, us widow women's with our widow game studios. But Ubisoft is losing money hand over fist. Like they're tanking hard. They've closed studios. Do you know why? Because the same gamers that didn't like what Sweet Baby Inc. was doing to indie games also didn't like what Ubisoft was doing with their games. And they were like, we're not going to give you our money anymore. So it's hilarious that she thinks they're punching down the gamers, the consumers, the people who actually have like the ultimate power is in the person who pays for stuff. And those people, yes, they do have the power. So they're literally starving Ubisoft right now. But anyway, yeah, they're getting sued. They're losing money. They got to close studios down. They closed down one just last week. It was like one of the studios that makes mobile games for them. And you might say, well, mobile games aren't, but they're losing money, obviously, And that BlackRock money they were getting, that cheap BlackRock money, is running out too, because all the stuff that they were supposed to use it on, like Assassin's Creed Shadows, did not pay off. So yeah, that Ubisoft might be gone like soon. But anyway, let's see, 105. There's like 10 seconds left in this.
Either they thought because they could count on their fingers and toes how many people work at Sweet Baby Inc. that they could be like you, and like you said,
messed this up. Yep.
I think it's really that's another piece of.
Oh, you're just being targeted, huh? Yeah, could you show that other clip where she says, if they don't do what we want, terrify them? You're being targeted, are you guys? You're just a widow, helpless creature. I want to see that.
All right, this is Kim Belair again, CEO of Sweet Baby Inc.
Stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, Go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want, because they have to consider.
Oh, they're so widowed. They're just widow, innocent women's just frolicking in a meadow, and then suddenly the shadow of Gamergate 2 falls over them.
Yep.
You guys set the means of engagement. And now that you are losing, don't start crying about how you are weak and little. You wanted to use intimidation to get what you wanted, and now people are pushing back on that. Bully.
That's it. They just pushed back and they just said, look, we know what you're doing. We think this is trash and we're not giving you our money. And they're like, you can't do that. Actually, we can, because despite your criticisms and despite, that the fact that our economy isn't quite a free market, people still can make choices with their money. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. Albatross gave us a super chat. Thank you. And says, for not liking straight white guys, they sure do depend on their opinion for their business to survive. Weird, huh? Yeah, they need those because those men buy their shit. Those male masculine men, they depend on their money. So they're like, well, how do we get them to buy our stuff? I know, we'll shame and attack them and then claim that they're attacking us. So we're gonna appeal to the thing that we think hates us to buy our shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because they also have to be informed how to be, right? Because that's what you want when you're playing a game. You want a Harridan to tell you that you should be uncomfortable with yourself and hate yourself, and if you don't want to feel that way, you should do everything they say and give them money.
Yep. All right. This is the next time code where they talk about, oh yeah, this is interesting. This is super projection right here.
I think that part sucks because you guys are not strangers to like harassment and like racism. Like you're not oblivious that those things are happening, and then also how much more in the gaming industry. And so to have to be doing this work for so long, and then for some people to get stirred up, right, in like their private safe community spaces of their echo chambers, like for them to get stirred up enough to like then
Did you guys realize that you're the ones in echo chambers? You are in the echo chamber, guys. Did you know that? Not them. They got their finger on the pulse of the world. They know exactly what gamers want, and it's gay, trans, disabled spider people. That's what they want, and you are in your echo chamber not learning that reality. Again, please buy our stuff. We're shitting all over you and everything you are and your identity as men, but we want you to buy our stuff. Otherwise, to prove that you're not a chud. All right, I'll keep going.
To do this, I think, is what's irritating, because I was really excited when gamers started to work together to the GameStop stocks, right? I was like, we have the power. I was really excited when we got them to change Sonic,
yes.
With great power.
Those are the same people. They're the same ones that got Sonic the Hedgehog redesigned for the movie and did the Wall Street bets. Is that what she means by the GameStop thing? But okay. That wasn't a feminist thing, but anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we have the buying power, we have influence, we have some say, we have authority. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm gonna say it.
All right, let me pause it here for a second. Yes, we have the buying power. That's the thing that you don't like. Is that we're exercising it not to support you.
At the end of the day,
isn't this what happened in Occupy Wall Street? Wasn't that like the thing where Occupy Wall Street was like a bunch of people that essentially did not like the sort of relationship between these Wall Street people and like businesses and how it was hurting Americans. And you had like people there that actually had like legitimate criticisms, and then you had feminists there trying to make it about them.
Mhm.
And that's what
Yep.
this is. And they're also claiming, well, your victory is our victory. So, you know, they're doing this like, we were there when Wall Street Bets was going on, and you guys were like, you know, buying up the GameStop stock or whatever. We were there when, you know, the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer came out and Sonic looked like a nightmare fuel, and you guys got him got them to change it to the original design. We were there in the trenches with you. Now, why aren't you here in the trenches with us when we're trying to destroy your IPs that you love so much? Because you're the people who would have kept Sonic the way he was in the eyes of the gamers. That's why. Because the reason why, just using the Sonic thing as an example, the reason why, do you know about the Sonic the Hedgehog thing, right, Allison, or no?
Yes, I do. I remember that controversy.
The movie, they released the original design and it looked awful, and you can still find memes of it, but the gamers were like, this is not the character from the original property. This is completely off the mark. It looks horrible, okay? And so the studio could have responded one of two ways. They could have said, go fuck yourself and release it anyway, which probably would have killed them. Or they could have responded and said, let's fix it. And they fixed it. They fixed it because the gamer said, this doesn't look like the character that we fell in love with, that we wanted to see represented on screen. You have altered the canon by altering the design, by making it ugly. Fix it. And so they did. They actually listened to the audience. They didn't complain. They didn't call them sexist or racist or homophobes. They fixed the Sonic design, and then they released the film, and I guess it did well enough that there were 3 movies made. And they just stuck to their guns for the whole thing, listening to the fans. And what these people are claiming is that what they're doing is in line with that, which is absolutely not, because they have taken franchises and properties that people have loved and they have changed them in the same way that the studios originally tried to change Sonic the Hedgehog. And then they're claiming that they're making it better because it includes their particular worldview, which is, again, only to satisfy themselves and their ego and their moral posturing. It has nothing to do with whatever groups they're trying to protect or, you know, cape for. And they're claiming that, I don't know, like that for some reason you opposing them is you going, like, you're like bucking this trend of like gamers working together. Well, gamers aren't in lockstep. We're in lockstep with one thing, and that's the truth, and that's what we like, right? So anyway, Bert Dag says, you don't like the new Sonic, you're stuck in the past, bigot. Exactly. They would do that, though. Like if they had made, you know, they would absolutely do that.
Well, what they do is they have the same playbook. They just cast any kind of criticism as masculine male manness. It's just being masculine male man. That's it. That's all they do. They just screech like the body snatchers. Male! And then everybody, all of the pod people come and be like, oh, male, I've got to get, you know, smash male. Like that's all they do now. They just, and this is everywhere. Ironically, it's even in criticisms of like commodity price distortion, like in the silver market. Like they call the people who are calling them out their criticism of the bullion banks and the market itself that's creating this manipulation. They call the men cranks and conspiracy theorists, and it's all very male coded language, because once you code someone as being male adjacent or male, then suddenly everything they say, including all of their criticism of your shady business practices or your crappy product, becomes suspect. And you don't have to engage with it legitimately, because you're not being criticized by people who know what they're talking about or 100% have a priori knowledge of what they like. You're talking to a bunch of males. And we all know that males don't have the right to judge anything. They don't have a right to their own opinion on what they like. They just like what women tell them to, right? And what, in particular, feminist women tell them to. And that's it. Right? You don't even, like, it's like I see this repeatedly over and over again. When someone wants to not have to engage with criticism, they call it male, or one of the many synonyms for their black category. Conspiracy theorist, crank, paranoid, guns and golden guns, prepper. All of these things are male coded. And that's the point. Once you code your criticism as male, it's illegitimate. Right?
Yep.
Because any kind of authority, any kind of male authority, illegitimate. It's patriarchal control.
It is. NovaFan21 gave us a Rumble rant for $1 and said, I remember there being an article saying about how concerning it was that studios were listening to machuds all over Sonic's improved design. Now it makes sense. Ugly Sonic was SBI's baby. Yeah, well, again, it was listening to the fans that people were lamenting. And it's because they feel like there are people who
Was Ugly Sonic SBI's baby?
No, it wasn't. He's making a joke. He's saying that they would have supported it, hypothetically. Because if it had come from their minds, they would have supported it unequivocally. And if you would criticize it, yes. Because they were saying that, but I think it came down to the principle of, but wait, if you listen to the fans, they might ask for more things. And
or the fans might defy the moral hierarchy that these people want to construct. They are on top, and the fans receive their wisdom and shut the fuck up.
Yes,
like it's
exactly.
like that way back when we did in like 2013, we did Anita will absolve you of her. We did a stream that was about this kind of confessional as applied to the gamer culture, and it was it featured Anita, and it was like, Saint Anita will absolve you of your sins, gamers. And that's exactly what this is. They want to be at the pulpit telling you how to believe, what to believe, how to behave, how to live, and what to buy. And if you have the audacity to say that your preferences as a man or as a male adjacent, you have the audacity to say that your preferences should be catered to and that you shouldn't have to be lectured to, well, that's just harassment. That is exactly proof that Sweet Baby Inc. is needed even more than ever. And also, you should be doxxed. You should get your accounts removed. You should get your games seized. You should lose your job. Maybe you should get some false accusations against you. Maybe you should be swatted. Oops. Maybe you should be beaten to death on the street.
Well, if any of those things leads to a beating, it's probably deserved, right?
Yeah, it's probably deserved. Shouldn't have been male and male adjacent. Shouldn't have been male or male accessories. Or male accessorized. Okay. Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. She's going to say it, is what she said.
White men are going to white men. Like, at the end of the day, they're like, but like we're just to let you know who's in charge around here. Like, and I think.
Hello.
I think
white men are going to white men, just to let you know who's in charge. Okay. So let's just say that they're talking about just men in general. Go ahead, Allison.
Well, when they mean, as we have discovered when we investigated the word white means masculine. Like, that's literally whiteness or cultural whiteness or whatever the hell. Because I assume, well, maybe they are bioessentialists that just want to get rid of Caucasian people, but I assume it's a cultural thing that they're condemning. Well, when you look at what they condemn about white people culturally, it's just masculinity. So when they say white,
when you look at the Smithsonian, the thing in the Smithsonian about whiteness, it's all male coded stuff. It's all male stuff that they're just attributing to whiteness because they're trying to like basically make men of other races more feminized by attaching whiteness to masculinity to whiteness.
Or they're trying to ensure that they can continue to condemn men of other races by attaching what men do to whiteness, to their black category, so they can, beat up Latinos in Minnesota too. That's
Yeah, sure.
It's not about who they help. It's about who they get to spit on, who they get to
Yeah.
condemn, who they get to lynch. And of course, they're making it very plain right here who it is. Masculine men. And by masculine, that also includes femme and flaming men, because let's face it just includes men and men adjacent like me. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never known this universe, but I think I could get the
Oh wait, actually I do have an insight here. Do you notice how they've taken their audience and any audience criticism, reduced it down to masculine male men, and now they're essentially saying that it's illegitimate because it's patriarchal control? That's what they just did. Like if we go back, she said, white men got a white men, right?
Yeah.
And what is that code
they gotta
for?
act like they're in charge. That's what she said.
Yeah. That is basically saying patriarchy. So essentially this all comes down to our male audience has no right to complain about the crap we're putting out that nobody likes, because patriarchy. And patriarchy is illegitimate. Therefore, any male oversight, even when it comes to male consumers consuming the product we put out, any male oversight is illegitimate. You see how this works?
Yes.
Patriarchy. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
games where everybody looks like you and relates to you and has a lifestyle, and then that starts to change and you're going whoa, I think I can understand maybe the shock or like the change.
Okay, so they're smashing patriarchy, guys. They're smashing patriarchy.
Yeah. This is also, well, I'll let her finish her argument, but this is like one we've heard a million times, and she's acting like she just uncovered it. Well, she thinks she's making an argument. Yes.
Yeah.
But as soon as we go aggressive or we go rage or we go hate, I'm like, okay, well, I
don't get it
don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with that. And we're talking about all within the context of the world and how the world has worked and how racism and classism and all of those things have worked. That just exists in our world, whether we like it or not.
Racism and classism. Again, both of those things are just buttressing their narrative that men are wrong. And
what's
men
classism?
in particular,
It's just hierarchy based on merit. She's just giving it a name, classism, to ismize it. She's ismizing everything, but it just means that some people, yeah, but that doesn't exist, Allison. Like okay. Obviously, there exists people who have a lot and it's unearned, but there's nothing that can be done about that. But ultimately, what most people just like exist in a hierarchy of like you get in what you get out what you put in, and the obstacles that exist are usually coming from the state, which is if there's a complaint to be had about classism, that would be it. But these people, they have no problem with the government. They love the government. They want the government to do everything for them. So their status, so they're never going to see the state itself as part of the problem. So instead, it's people that are just like, they just believe, in the general sentiment of hierarchy. Like there are people who are better at things than you, and that's okay. Like there are people who are more wise, that have more experience, that have better skill, that are stronger, that are taller, that are faster, that have more money or whatever, right? And that's just the reality. Like there are lots of people who are better than me at a lot of different things. And then there are some people who I might be better than at things too. But that's just life. And these people hate that. They hate that because they're not they want a world that's what they would call fair, but what they want to do is flatten everything. So they just criticize hierarchy and they call it classism. And the thing is, men in particular are fine with hierarchy. In fact, they think it's probably important, because if you want to get anything done, you have to know who's good at what and who sucks at what, so that we don't put the right person, we don't put the wrong person in the wrong place to like keep society going. And these people don't believe in that because they live in a bubble where everything is provided for them and they take it all for granted. I mean, look at her window. She looks like she lives out in the fucking mountains somewhere with a terrific view. And she's complaining about being oppressed by men, you know? So she's probably like really doing well. And I think that only someone who could be doing really well could complain so easily that other people are also doing well. Anyway. So
no, I got you.
Time code 8:35. Yeah, so a little bit. This one is almost
I
over.
don't get that.
I don't
I
get
just
it.
don't get that part.
Isn't that
Oh yeah, and going back, she said you were used to like talking about these gamers, that they were like seeing only themselves in games for all time, and that now it's changed and they're upset. This is another ridiculous feminist argument. No one ever had a problem with that in games. Like that's always been in games. I remember when games, what does Pac-Man represent? Who is he representing? Is he representing Asians because he's yellow? Is he representing people that don't have arms or legs or a torso and they're just like a mouth that opens and closes? Is that what he's representing? I don't feel represented by Pac-Man. Why haven't I boycotted it or banned it? Like what about when you're playing like, I don't know, I'm exposing my age here. Space Invaders. You were literally just a little like a ground-based ship that shot at aliens. I don't know who was piloting it. I don't know what their pronouns were. I don't have a problem with that. But they're trying to imply that we have a problem, and it's projection. They're the ones that have a problem. They're the ones that want to see more of themselves and everything. And it's not even because they care about these minority groups. It's because they're narcissists. They need to see them. Like if you look at everything that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on, there is a self-insert character in every one of the games they've worked on. Kim Belair has put a self-insert of herself. That's the woman who said, this woman right here, she has self-inserted herself into almost every game they've worked on. Is that representation for women?
That's representation of her.
That's just her. Okay. And these people are just keeping for that. No.
There's RPGs where you could literally make something that it's not good enough.
No, they don't. No.
Okay.
No. Okay.
How many more time codes?
Well,
Brian?
I mean, it only with RPGs where you can make your own character, the only ones that are allowed are the ones that allow you to have 100 different levels of vitiligo, because that's like the thing now is vitiligo. Did you know that, Allison? You have to have your dark elf like wizard with vitiligo covering 90% of their body. Otherwise, somebody out there with vitiligo is going to feel like not represented or seen. And we have to make sure that all the vitiligo people are in all the video games. That's how ridiculous this has gotten. That's how ridiculous it's gotten. Okay, like people are. Where's my albino like dwarf at? Like I want to be able to play an albino dwarf, and I'm not seeing albinism as an option. Do you know albinos that I know that play video games do not want to see albinos in a game? Do you know that? Yeah, I know it sounds crazy. They'd rather just escape their reality and make something else. But no, these people don't work that way. They want to force you to experience yourself. You know, like there was a woman, she was like wheelchair bound. Her name was Shannon. And I think I had her on the show way back in the day a couple times. She is like very crippled, okay? And she would call herself a cripple. So I'm not like using it disparagingly. She doesn't want to play games where she plays a cripple. She wants to be able to like play some shit where you're playing like parkour and you're free running and shit. Is that a wild idea? But these people would say, no, you have these traits. You have to be you in everything. You're not allowed to try something else. This is like sick, but this is what they do. Okay, anyway. I'm sorry. I went on a little bit of a rant there. 108.38.
Are you sure Teal Deer, TL semicolon DR is Teal Deer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
he says vitiligo privilege needs to end. Eczema suffers deserve representation now. Yeah, 100%.
Eczema. Is it eczema or eczema? I thought it was eczema.
Eczema? I don't know. Okay. How about the diabetes? The diabetes sufferers.
Diabetes
they
people.
Need representation.
Yeah.
The diabetes. Yeah.
All right, let's go. This is the next one.
How many more, Brian? How many more of these?
I got a couple. I can skip one.
Okay. Well, I
let
mean,
me go
I assume
to.
that you have to go pick up Lindsay.
Yeah, I do have to go soon. Let me jump ahead to 116.
Okay,
They're
my
basically-
browser's done something weird. It's like
They're
put two
claiming
calves in
they're
one.
fatigued from all the racism and homophobia and stuff. So, I think I think I'll jump ahead to save them.
Gout
116:21.
Yeah. How about the flatfoots? You know, I'm one of those. Like we should get representation.
Yeah, sugar.
There should be like a foot strain meter on games. That if you max out, you start to hobble.
Like,
Yeah. Oh.
like I'm like, whatever, bro. If they want to come, let them come. Like, just open the doors. Like, I would be too exhausted. Like, but
and I think, like, on top of that,
women in the minority is already exhausting. So maybe they just don't have issues going.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
What the frick? You guys are exhausting. I'm exhausted.
And I think, like,
yeah,
Brian
they're basically
is
just.
exhausted.
I am
Mia
exhausted.
is exhausted. The void cat is exhausted. You've exhausted the void cat. The void must now take a nap.
If we like go down this road of representing everything, we're not going to have anything. It's
no.
They're and these people, by the way, for them being really against hierarchies, they're not really against hierarchy. They want to invert it. Well, at least that what they perceive as it. They want it inverted. But okay, anyway, 116.
For me, the other thing that gets me down sometimes is, like, I do see friends, I do see people, just random people on the internet, I see influencers, I just existing both online and offline. I see how much positivity, like just genuine, like, happiness or joy, or being heard, or feeling like they've been seen and represented in media. Like, we know how powerful that is.
Yeah,
we all do, right? And
no, I don't buy it. You're mentally weak if that's like your whole existence hinges on that. I think you're weak. I'm sorry.
especially gamers, like, it just, we all know how nice it is to see yourself in a player in different ways. And so you are telling people that they don't deserve ever to feel heard or seen when you act that way. And that one, mind-blowing to me, and also really infuriating, because it's just something that, like, I've been playing games since I could. I don't know, since my brain would let me to, literally. And I really, really like them, and I don't want all of them to be one.
No, you don't. No, you don't. If you did, then you would care about at least the popular franchises that were built by, supported financially, and the culture built around them by the men you are demonizing. So you don't actually like video games. You don't. Now, if you want to, like, make your own little woke bullshit game and support it, go ahead. No one's going to stop you. But don't get mad if it doesn't sell. That's all. You're lying, and it pisses me off. You're lying. You don't actually like this shit. You are caping, and you're trying to, you're impugning people for stuff that is I think is extremely unfair. Oh, my narcissistic friends in my circle, they really like seeing themselves in things because, like, they'd have a mental breakdown if they didn't, and that's not a them problem. Obviously, it's a problem of the entire world not putting them front and center in everything. And when somebody says, actually, I don't think that's a good idea, well, that person's a problem because they didn't basically, like, pander completely to my narcissistic best friend who needs to see themselves in everything. Like, that's pathetic. It's pathetic beyond words.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just dealing with the cat. Like, I'm being the cat really loves me, and I am suffering for it.
I'm saying that, yeah, if you really like these games, then you would understand that there is an integrity that's there to protect, but you don't. That's how I know you don't like them. Now, if it was like a new idea that hadn't been done yet, then that's a different story, and I frankly don't care. But it probably won't do well because when you have a progressive worldview, it alters the way you do everything. unfortunately. But okay. Anyway, let's see. I think I will go to one more, and then I'll be it. So 121. Maybe I can just jump ahead here. 121. This is where they talk about the difference between, because I don't know if you guys know, but there's nuance. The difference between constructive criticism and hatred.
I can't tell you. Sometimes I agree with that real criticism, and I want to be clear. I don't agree with hate.
Yeah.
I don't agree with.
Please don't cancel me for what I'm about to say. That's what she's saying.
Any sort of critique about like
I'm about to step out of line a little bit.
this person being a race or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like when I'm talking about a genuine critique about like, I didn't think this part was fun. You're allowed to think that,
Yeah.
right? Or
Yeah.
like you're allowed to say like,
Well, thank you.
Man, you know what? When these two characters were talking, like it just didn't pull me
Felt
like I
weird.
wanted it to.
Yeah.
That's okay, right? Like I could sometimes agree with that a lot of the time. That's I think like where I'd rather the
Because that's
discourse
critiquing the
genuinely
art,
be.
right? And not necessarily
Right.
the artist, which I don't believe in separating.
Well, you're actually straw manning, because most people are not as necessarily concerned about the representation, particularly in games in which you could play anything. You could play a dwarf, you could play a dragon. Like, why would people even be concerned about this? What's concerning them is your priorities are making the work suck, right? And you can't criticize how it sucks and separate it from your priorities, because it is indeed your priorities that are making the work suck. Just like in the publishing industry, the awful's priorities are making the work suck because they are pushing work that sucks. And the thing is that these women do not know what is good. And they do not know what is good because they have replaced merit with emotion. That makes them feel morally superior. That must be good. Okay. Well, the dialogue that makes you feel morally superior to your audience doesn't appreciate it. And it doesn't appreciate it for the very thing that makes you feel morally superior about it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, it's like, the problem is the didacticism, which means the problem is the ideology you're trying to shove into it. It isn't just pure merit, right? Because where the problems start, where the merit starts to drift, is exactly where you're trying to shove ideology in.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to make it didactic because it's emotionally comfortable for you rather than pursuing merit. And people know that. So basically she's just said, well, you can criticize me based on merit, but I'm going to continue to subordinate merit to the message, and you can't criticize that. Well, then they can't criticize your lack of merit because your message is causing it. Right? Your need to push it in there is causing the lack of merit. They can't identify the cause because you have said that is illegitimate. Well, unfortunately for you, you don't get to decide what an illegitimate criticism is, thank God. At least not yet. Not until the social credit score tied to these women's emotions about reality. Terrifying dystopia. Yeah, they should have Minority Point Report too, and it's all just these women. Your credit score is tied into an AI simulation of these women's appreciation and sense of self-righteousness. So every action that you take is going to be filtered through whether or not it makes these women feel good and self-righteous. And that's going to be your credit score. There you go. That's a dystopia. I don't even think that dystopia has been written. It's one someone could write.
There you go.
Everything is filtered through the emotions of women like these. Everything. Right? So you won't get credit because you made one of these women feel bad. Oof, geez. I think I overemphasized getting Mia in the picture here. Yes, hello. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
Jojo, he moved away. Jojo, go back to your bed. Go. It's hot in here. He probably wanted to get off his bed. Oh, he's going back. I think that's basically it. I mean, she basically like reiterates the whole, oh, you know, they're criticizing the artist and not the art, which is again bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we can like end it here. So I gotta go pick up Lindsay. So oh, I said end. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me see if
that's
there's any
fine.
other comments.
We're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take
right.
a look too. So if you have any comments, get them in quickly. feedthebadger.com/justthetip so we can address them now. Looks like there is nothing. All right. So anytime after the show, you can send us a comment at feedthebadger.com/justthetip or support the show at feedthebadger.com/support. And I'll hand it back to you, Brian, so we can so you can get to your lovely wife.
Yeah, I gotta go pick up the wife. So thanks guys for coming on the show. I don't know, like there's supposed to be a big snowstorm coming tomorrow. So I think our power might get knocked out. So I don't know if I'll be able to do a show this weekend, but if it doesn't happen, I guess we'll probably do something on Sunday. But with that said, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave me a comment, let me know what you guys think about what we talked about in the show today, and please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.